Good evening, lords and ladies. If you've seen my base tour video that I just finished actually, you may have noticed this. I have a small grid ramp setup in the driveway or entryway to my loading bay. And it is perfectly aligned to the large grid. If you're not sure how to do this kind of thing, I figured it out on my own. It was quite the challenge. What I did was I built a little frame, kind of like a H frame here, with a small connector on it and a battery, and I pushed it into here, connected it, set the strength on both connectors to 100%, and that locked them square. So everything was the perfect distance on the plane of that yellow ring. So if you notice how there's a gap there between that connector and that connector, at 100% strength there is always that gap. Maybe not necessarily that size, but it's always there, and it's roughly that. Oh, you startled me. Whoa, leg. Come on, go away, leg. Come on. Oh, don't be doing that. Okay, now. There we go. Now let's repair my door. There we go. Anything? Not from you. Where's the other one? Okay, no. Oh well. Sorry about that distraction. Where was I? Ah yes, I was going to move my drill here, just to showcase my... Oh, those corpses are in the way. Stupid corpses, stop. Thank you. Alright. And that should work. Oh, way farther than I thought it was. Let's use 2 here to back up. Alright, here I am. So, once I had my framework here with the 2 connectors and the battery pack, I came out here and made sure it was centered perfectly by building... Well, let's just give an example of it. Okay, I built something along the lines of this. Oh, that was stupid. I had it locked into that so it wasn't going to fall. But anyways, I built myself a frame that came over to here and just sat on top of this and like that, like... It sat... well, in the spot I was trying to show... Oh, no, don't do that. There we go. Okay. But just on the corner there, on both sides, and that made sure it was perfectly centered side to side as well. It was just a backup. I didn't need to do it because this thing locked it in pretty darn good. And then I came all the way forward, and where this guy's head is, I did the same thing, except I came all the way forward along here, hooked up over the edge here. Then came all the way forward as far as I could, except I couldn't quite go to the last block. So I hooked up over the edge right here. And the reason I couldn't go to the last block was because of the extra little bit of space that 100% strength on the connection has. It forces it to be out by about a third or a quarter of a small block. So I just had to kind of live with that. So what I did is once I got it set up there, and the same thing on this side, I came all the way down and up, so that it was as close to against this wall as I could get it, and as close to against that wall as I could get it, and as close to this wall as I could get it, and same here. So it was as close to the corners as I could get things. And I knew that I had to actually push it back that way. So what I did is, at this point here, I came out to right here, and I came across, connecting both sides with blocks, and then I came down and I had to dig out a little bit below this to do it. And I just made sure they were connected strongly. I came back here, and I think it was on the fourth or fifth block back, and then I went down, and this block here at the time was not a light armor panel, it was actually a half light armor block, so I was able to use a piston to push that way, although I couldn't do that right away because I was still connected at that end. I needed to make sure everything was stationary and connected, which is why I connected across here in line with this for another reason, but I'll get to that in a moment. And then I broke down everything in here. So I was sitting here, or across here, and anchored at the corner, and I was anchored at the corners up here. No longer connected over there, and I had a piston on each corner lined up, aimed at the half blocks on that side. The other blocks were sitting right on the edge of this, and therefore I couldn't twist or turn sideways or move sideways. That was held perfectly. Once I disconnected that part, this kind of shifted and settled, but it didn't quite make enough difference. So I still had to activate the pistons, which I moved the battery that I had over there, and I put it on the blocks over here, just to make sure that I could do that. And then these pistons pushed, because of where I had to put them, they pushed 1 meter, because one small grid block is half a meter, so those two blocks add up to 1 meter. And I put it, I believe, I had the block it was mounted to here, and I put it on that block, and then it was 1, 2, 3 long, but at least for building it was 3 long, but the actual piston is only 2 long. It just has to have space here. So I then pushed the meter, which just nicely pushed that back, and I did it on both sides at the same time, and it pushed against this edge here, which then gave me enough room, I think I was in an extra block so that I could do it, yeah I was, to put a block on the piece in the corner, and the block went in. So I knew everything was lined up essentially perfectly at that point. So what I did then is I dug out the ground with my drill and put below this block, I'm not going to break that block, but I've got just a normal block below that block, and I built on it a landing gear that was sideways, and it immediately connected automatically. So I was easily able to connect that back up. And let's just do this and place these bits. Oh, that didn't. There we go. There we go. So, and now that the landing gear was connected, I was able to remove essentially all of my structure. And I just, off of the landing gear, I built this center line going from here all the way to here. At this point, this area was still these half light armor blocks. So I stopped here, and I was like, yeah, that worked out really good. And then I just filled in each side. Afterwards, I was like, well, you know what would be nice? To have that yellow line a little longer. And so I just cut up all the half armor blocks and just added the small half armor blocks. Which, yeah, it took quite a bit of time to get each individual block in there, but it worked beautifully, and now I have a perfectly aligned and essentially stationary, 100% not gonna move ramp that I can just drive my vehicles on. And if there was one part of my base that I would be upset if a meteor hit it, it would be this one. Because every other part of my base, yeah, they would suck, but this took a lot of time and effort, just getting all the pieces in the right position and lining it up and just all the tedious parts of the job. There's nothing tedious about most of that. This was tedious. So, this is kind of the pride and joy of my base, and I didn't even mention it in my tour. But anyways, if you would like to see a tutorial on this, I may be doing one if I get any likes and comments to the affirmative, so I could easily do that. And yeah, thanks for watching.